Okay.
Nature is what made this world. Nature is what made us come together. Nature made the plants and birds and made us have a truly lovely home. Mud is truly muddy. Mud helps our plants, and soil makes the trees grow, and soil is how nature comes to life.
Nice.
Thank you.
Climate Stories is an exploration where we're bringing together scientists with artists to really explore storytelling and how we can be better communicators of climate science.
It's an experiment to try and see if we could reach out to a wider audience in a more effective way and talk about climate change in a positive way.
Storytelling is something that everybody understands. It's how we make sense of our lives, it's how we plan out our futures. Yet, often climate scientists are not really skilled with how to tell stories effectively. And by bringing scientists together with artists for whom storytelling is exactly what they do, the value is that scientists together with artists, together with members of the public, can explore the challenges of climate change together.
And Climate Stories is a way of trying to find that boundary-breaking, cross-disciplinary conversation. So we worked in 4 different disciplines: printmaking, drama, songwriting and creative writing. We had 4 fantastic tutors to structure the courses that we wanted our climate scientists to experience. And our scientists did workshops with them and then took those workshops to public engagement workshops across a whole range of communities, from children to members of the folk music community in Devon.
Dartington was a really intense experience for the artists and for the scientists, and we knew it would be when we went there, I think, that we were experiencing all the different art forms that were part of the project. My take is creative writing, so I'm interested in poetry and short stories mainly, but we decided that we would get the scientists practicing the art so they had an understanding of what we did, and we also had an understanding of what they did and what their research was about.
When I devised the specific workshops for them, the aim was to give them a flavour of the types of encounter that they could have with the public. So the idea was to give them materials and tools which would enable them to draw out conversations around climate change through the making.
What was really interesting for me about working at Dartington with climate scientists was that for me, this is a really interesting demographic, intelligent academic adults who are driven by some kind of passion for their subject and drawing out from them interesting information about climate change and about what their priorities were, and leading them through the process of writing the song and coming out with results that were successful independently of any consideration about whether or not these people were experienced songwriters.
And I was amazed at the poetry and stories that scientists have written, and that they were so prepared to be involved. And I think that's because we were using facts as launch pads, and we could connect these things up by working in a room that was very atmospheric as well, and that helped an awful lot, the setting.
The Dartington experience was just amazing. None of us knew how it was going to go, but it was quite clear early on that actually they were very prepared to get stuck in. I think it's really surprised a lot of them that they can produce something, and just that having a go gets them off the starting blocks. So when they've come to the public workshops, they've been ready to engage and have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Today we've been talking to primary school kids in this beautiful farm site in mid-Devon. We had a lovely spot down in the woods where we've talked about all of the different roles that trees play in ecosystems and why trees are so important. It's been really inspiring to talk to some of the kids about where they see the future of the world, what kind of world they would like to live in when they're older, and how we might set about making that world. I've really enjoyed that. What drew me to this project? I was frustrated often as an early career scientist at the lack of opportunity to really engage with communities outside science, and for opportunities to explore, I suppose, my own more emotional motivations for being involved, especially in climate and sustainability science. And it seemed like a really good opportunity to explore that.
So we've been doing some printmaking, to make collagraphs, to do little animations, to talk about food security and how it will be affected by climate change. So lots of cutting papers and gluing them and inking, and yeah, it was good fun. Seeing the children, how the ideas popped in their mind and how independent they became afterwards with making, realizing their ideas. Some of them asked a few questions which showed their interest and curiosity, but just by making something and thinking about a specific aspect of climate change, I think it will make it more real to them.
So this event this evening has been my first workshop from the Climate Stories project. I wouldn't say that drama is in my comfort zone at all. I think creating visual art is more something I'm comfortable with, so I was quite excited to try something that's not really within my comfort zone to begin with. So we started with some really interesting performances of some plays around the topic of climate change, and they're really fantastically performed by some local theatre companies. And then we broke off into groups and sort of tried to come up with ideas for some kind of performative narrative. The thing that excited me most about it was the potential for engaging communities and for using arts as a common language to get people involved in the discussion about climate change. And I'd love to see more of that. So that's basically why I was drawn to Climate Stories. And also, it's really important to talk to the public about climate science and climate change because it belongs to everybody. It's not just the remit of scientists. We need to get people on board. We need to be communicating this message more effectively. And I think art is a brilliant way of doing that.
So today's been brilliant. We have been sitting behind you. There's like a campfire area that three of us have been writing a song at for most of today. It was inspired initially by a little sort of workshop thing that Dan organised, where we thought about if there was an extreme event like a flooding event, what would be most important to you to rescue if you had to flee from your home. And then we went off and thought about writing a song, and people came back with all sorts of different things. It was brilliant. Everybody had picked a different part of what we've been talking about to create a completely different song. I think any new ways of trying to engage people with thinking about climate change is a really good thing, and I think the arts is maybe a more approachable form than going to an actual specific science talk. So any ways we can use different art mediums to chat with the wider public is a really good idea.
We need projects like Climate Stories because they break down boundaries between disciplines. We think of scientists and artists as people who live in very specific bubbles and have competencies that are very circumscribed. I think they have far more in common with each other than they think. And if we could break some of those barriers down, it would be so exciting. It'd be exciting for the people who are doing the science and the art, but we would also be able to talk about important things like our relationship with the natural world.